There was a hum coming from the depths of the forest. The moonlight filtered through the trees, unable to reach the dark corners of the path. Karen was walking alone, deeper into the forest. The sound of her footsteps, the rustling of the wind, and the distant calls of animals were the only sounds she could hear. She wasn't alone, but at that moment, she couldn't see anyone. Could someone understand the feelings of a person walking alone in the forest? Someone who was lost, both physically and mentally. Karen had planned a camping trip with her friends some time ago. However, their journey had turned into a disaster when their tent disappeared at one point, and one by one, all her friends had vanished. But, driven by some inner instinct, Karen had decided to venture deeper into the forest. She felt that something was there, where her friends had disappeared. Now, she was there. The moon was full, and Karen sat down at the base of a tree. The light from her lantern illuminated a figure approaching her. Was one of her friends coming? Just as she thought everything was over, she heard a sound. Cautiously, she turned around, but there was no one. She felt the air growing colder. Her skin crawled, but she took a deep breath to suppress her fear. "It's just a hallucination," she whispered to herself. She took a few steps, but in the darkness surrounding her, she realized everything was disappearing. The forest suddenly felt like a living thing, pulling her deeper in. With each step, she was moving further into the depths. Karen knew, deep down, that something was waiting for her there. There had to be a reason for all of this, a feeling, a sign, a truth that would explain everything. Suddenly, a scream pierced the air. It was the scream of her friend, Ice. Frozen in fear, she ran toward the source of the sound. A hope blossomed inside her, that she would find Ice. The screams grew louder, but with each step, it felt like Karen was falling further behind. Everything around her was fading, and with each step, the forest seemed to get deeper. But then, she noticed something, a light, a fire, glowing in the deep darkness. When she got closer, Ice's screams abruptly stopped. She saw a group of people gathered around a fire. But these people were faces she had never seen before. They were all staring at her, but there was nothing in their eyes. Just emptiness. Karen wanted to take a step forward, but her body wouldn't move. She couldn't make a sound. From near the fire, another scream came, but this time, it was calling her name. For a moment, she believed everything was just a dream. But no, this was not a dream. Fear had settled in every corner of her being. The people around the fire slowly began to approach her. One by one, they spoke her name. Deep, hollow voices echoed in her ears. "Do you remember me?" said one of them, but Karen couldn't respond. "Once, you were here too," said another. Karen began to feel the emptiness inside her. She trembled with fear, tears streaming down her face. This place was not just a forest. There was something here, a lost soul, a trapped body. Karen was face to face with a being that had come here years ago and had once disappeared. Now, there was no turning back. One by one, the people around the fire vanished. When Karen took one more step, she found herself back in the middle of the old campsite. But everything was different. The tents were gone, and the trees had fallen. It was as though time had never passed, and she was stuck in the same place. She tried to run deeper into the forest, but every direction was filled with shadows. She took a deep breath once more and closed her eyes. There was no way out of the forest. Fear was not leaving her. Night was falling. The sky, dimming slowly, covered the land beneath with an eerie calm. This legendary forest lay miles away from the town, and no one dared approach it. Over the years, the number of people who had vanished into this forest kept growing. Locals called it the Whispering Trees. No one truly understood what the name meant, but everyone claimed to hear strange, unsettling sounds from deep within the woods. A young man, who had recently moved to the town, named Alex, had heard all the stories. When the locals spoke of their fears, Alex merely smiled. Stories and legends, he would say. They're not real, all just imagination. But one night, Alex decided to gather his courage and venture into the forest. At the entrance of the woods stood an ancient stone arch covered in moss and time-worn. It seemed like a threshold to a forgotten world. Alex pushed the archway open and stepped inside. Walking alone under the thickening darkness, he quickly noticed something odd. Amidst the rustling of the wind, there was something, or someone, whispering his name. At first, he thought it was just the wind playing tricks on him, but the voice was too distinct, too clear. Alex. 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 He shook off the chill creeping down his spine and continued walking. As he ventured deeper into the forest, the trees grew taller, their shapes more grotesque. Their trunks twisted and contorted into forms that looked like the faces of ancient, withered people. Their gnarled expressions seemed to watch him, as if they were waiting for something, or someone. Suddenly, another voice reached his ears, much closer this time. Get out. The voice seemed to come from the very heart of one of the trees. Alex froze, scanning the surroundings. There was nothing there, but the whispers persisted. A faint hiss, followed by more words, barely audible but unmistakable. Get out. Leave this place. Alex, still confident in his defiance of local superstitions, dismissed it. It's just the wind, he muttered to himself. But the whispers grew louder, more persistent. The trees seemed to crowd in around him, their branches stretching towards him, almost as if they were alive. The shadows beneath them seemed deeper, more oppressive. The further Alex went, the stranger things became. The trees were no longer just trees, they felt like something more, something ancient. Something was wrong. He felt the presence of something watching him, something hidden, buried within the roots of the forest. Then, a scream pierced the air, a human scream. It came from deep within the woods. Alex spun around, his heart racing. Before he could react, the trees around him seemed to close in. The path that had been clear moments before was now narrowing. The trees, massive and towering, were crowding in on him. The chilling sound of branches creaking in the wind was now accompanied by whispers. Leave. Or stay forever, they murmured. Alex wanted to run, but his feet felt heavy, as though the ground itself was pulling him down. He struggled, but the roots of the trees twisted around his legs, trapping him. He gasped and pulled, trying to free himself, but it was no use. The more he struggled, the tighter the roots gripped him. Then, one of the trees began to open. The bark split down the middle, revealing a gaping, maw-like opening. Inside, gleaming teeth glistened, sharper than any animal's. Alex screamed and tried to break free, but it was too late. The tree began to pull him in slowly, methodically, as though savoring every moment of his terror. The whispers continued, growing louder. Forever. You will stay here forever. The next morning, no one returned from the forest. No one knew what had happened to Alex. The town whispered of a new person who had vanished, and when people began to speak his name, they swore they could hear faint whispers in the wind. Alex. 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 Like the video and subscribe to Mr. Adam channel. See you in other videos.